Wednesday, October the 29th. Lake level is 911 3/4, down about 6 inches or so since last week. Water temperature is still about the same. It's about 66, 67 degrees this morning, and last few days hasn't changed much throughout the day. But we got quite a bit of cold weather coming in, so it looks like that water temperature should start to drop some more, which would be good. It'll help the fishing out. Now, there's some things going on. The lake in certain areas is starting to turn over. I was down at Bull Shoals this past weekend. The same thing's happened down there. Certain areas of the lake are starting to turn. What that's doing is broke that thermocline level up, and it's drove a lot of them fish a lot deeper. If you remember last week, I'd reported catching fish as deep as 50, 55 feet. The last few days, a lot of the fish I've been catching have been coming out of 60 foot. What happens when that thermocline breaks up, takes that where that oxygen level is the best and kind of mixes it all up into water column. So the fish can be anywhere from 2 feet to, like I say, some of them were catching up, as deep as 60 foot. Now, there is a little bit of a wigglewort bite. We caught fish on a wigglewort this past weekend at Bull Shoals. I caught some this morning on Table Rock. You got the right conditions, early in the morning with a little wind. And the places that I probably spent some time fishing it on Table Rock is a lot of the bluffs, the real vertical bluffs. And what I'd look for is the outside swings on them. And instead of just the sheer straight walls, I'd look for like little points that come in and out on the bluffs, places where there's rock slides. And what you want to do is you want to get up there and just parallel the bank or the bluff. You can almost just stick your rod out and touch it and just run it right down in front of the boat. You'll be 10 feet out from the bank and it'll be anywhere from 10 to 20 foot deep. But there's been some crankbait fish up on that type of stuff. And later in the day, if you get a little bit of wind and clouds, you might try it again. But it's been working the best for me the first couple hours of the morning. Now, the colors of wiggleworts, I don't think it matters all that much as long as it's a crawdad pattern. I'm finding a lot of the fish that we're catching that have got crawdads in them. Like this past weekend, we fished the tournament. The fish had belched out quite a few crawdads in the live well, and they had a lot of orange on them, and green, like an olive green back like this one here. But I would definitely throw something that's got some orange or a little red on the bottom, brown or green on the back. Try to stay with a crawdad pattern. First thing in the morning, you might just try some transition banks, some main lake and secondary points. If that doesn't work, I'd get out on them bluffs. Now, as far as the rest of it, not a lot of it has changed. I still haven't got a real good football jig bite going. I can catch a few fish flipping shallow docks, and a lot of these docks are, quite a ways back in the creeks. It'd be like the last 5 or 6 docks in a pocket. Now, you got to flip a lot of them. I've been catching them on a 3/8 ounce finesse jig, brown and purple PBJ with like a little green pumpkin critter craw or a Strike King baby rage craw for a trailer. And you just got to fish it, flip it as far back in the stall as you can, work it out real slow. It's painstakingly slow fishing, but you can catch some good keepers doing it. Yesterday we caught a lot of fish. I was way up in the White River, up around Big M. Not very many keepers. A lot of fish in the 12 to 14 inch range. Now today I had 2 women out. And they could really fish good. The one woman had 6 keepers by herself in half a day. And they were, 2 1/4 pound Kentuckys, which I thought was pretty impressive the way the fishing has been. And all them fish came on a drop shot. The other woman had, I think, 4 fish with 2 keepers. She was fishing night crawlers. The other woman was fishing a plastic worm. She was throwing a Danger Close plum worm, and also a Chompers brown purple laminated. Now, we was fishing these on main lake flat gravel points, but it seems like I had reported last week, I can't see hardly any activity from 40 feet in. It seems like I've got to have the boat in 50 to 65 feet. Some of the fish are coming up off the bottom in 60 foot. Some of them are suspended about 45 or 50 over 60. you know, we had to fish a lot of flats today to find which flats had the fish on them, and it seemed like the bite was best fairly early. I mean, it was over with about 11:30. We fished a little bit later and caught some fish out of some deep tree tops, you know, setting in 80, 90 foot, fishing the tree tops to come up to 30 foot. But even when you get into an area where the fish are biting, I mean, I just can't emphasize enough how light the bite is. So, I mean, I'm fishing 6-pound line, and if the wind doesn't blow too bad, I'm using a 1/4 ounce weight. And if you're going to be doing a lot of drop shot, you need to invest in a good quality rod. I'm using a medium light. It's a rod that Lou's just designed. It's designed it just for drop shots, called a Drop Shot Special. It's a new custom speed stick. I think it's $139, but if you're going to be doing a lot of fishing, you've got to have a nice light rod where you can feel this bite. Most of the bites, you don't feel the fish pick the bait up. All you feel is a little bit of pressure. Just pull down on the rod tip just a little bit. And I think I had mentioned it last week, when you're fishing 50 foot deep, you lose a ton of, you know, of the sensitivity because you got so much line in the water. And also on your hook set, you've got to really give it a good hook set because you've got, you know, a lot of line stretch. But as the water cools down now with the lake turning over, we need that water temperature drop another 7 or 8 degrees, get down in the 60s, and that's going to make that wiggle wart bite a little better. You know, there should be a little bit of a jig bite. You could probably fish a jig out there in that 55 to 60 foot, but the problem is dragging that football jig that deep, you can't hardly feel the fish when they pick it up. But the water cools down some more, and then the jig fish, you know, ought to move in that 25 to 35 foot range where you can catch them on a football jig or a Carolina rig. And like I say, the crankbait bite should pick up. And it's going to be a few more weeks after that. You know, sometime around Thanksgiving, the Alabama rig bite ought to start coming on too. So until next week, good luck, good fishing.